Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Incredible people with unique illnesses, defying all odds, defeating any trouble that comes their way, and still standing their grounds. With almost 4 births every second, some of them struggle with unexpected deformities, but confronting them courageously and fighting real hard. These incredible people don't let anything come their way. Voiceless man. Using a device to help his words come to life, this man is dealing with a rare condition, living a normal life before. It was 20 years ago when Tim had an accident which changed everything for him and almost cost him his life. Living like a dead person for some time, though he was back on his feet again, unfortunately he had lost his voice. So dealing with the condition and using a vibratory device which produces an electronic voice, Tim was still looking for a permanent solution, and that's when he met Dr. Marshall, who performed a risky but successful larynx surgery which lasted for 22 hours, and as a result, made him talk again.
Being able to speak again is going to change my whole life.
World's thinnest girl. With things already hard on her, as she was born in a poor family, Epiphany, a 17-year-old girl, had to deal with even more challenges when she grew up, as her body was not functioning properly. Born just like an ordinary kid, it was after some years that her malformations started to appear. As she started walking real late, Epiphany was around 5 when she took her first steps, and since then, her problems have only started to grow, as with her back lifted upward and the long arms and legs, which make her one of the world's thinnest girls, she is struggling every day, but is not losing hope, as she wishes to become a doctor one day, and is working really hard for this. But with a rare condition like this, her mother is not sure whether she'd be able to work for this or not. Grown-up child. Assuming her to be a child, people are often shocked to know that Michelle is a 20-year-old girl. Though everything remained normal during the pregnancy, it was when Michelle was born the doctors detected the deformities and called in a geneticist from another hospital, who, after running some tests, told the parents that she is suffering with a rare disorder and is born with Hellermann syndrome, which means she would have abnormalities in her skin, some dental deformities, childlike facial features, and many more complexities. But despite all that, she is still the liveliest girl in town.
Something. Yay!
As being 1 in a 5 million is what keeps Michelle going. Born without appendage. Suffering from a unique illness, tolerating the constant stares of the people, Siniqui Katamonga is no doubt an inspiration for everyone. Being a disability activist, fighting for human rights, she's not letting her deformity come in the way of her dreams. Born without hands and knees, Siniqui faced many challenges during the early stages of her life that even the daily tasks were difficult for her. But going to high school, she gathered her courage and started working for her dreams. And here she is now, working for human rights, running an organization, and is also a life coach. Actually, a strong, independent girl that's never looking back. Folded man. Staying perfectly healthy for his first 27 years, it was when he turned 28, his body started showing strange symptoms. At first considered to be arthritis, later he was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease. Trying their best to find a cure for their suffering child, the parents lost hope when even after spending all of what they had, they could not help him. Thus, eventually Lee's body had to surrender in front of the continuously growing disease, which means Lee completely folded. And not just that his body was folded, Lee's chin was stuck with his neck, the chest bones to the pubic bones, and the face to his thigh bones. And sadly, spent the coming 20 years of his life in that exact position, until a few doctors from China decided to help him. And at last, following a 4-step surgery and spending hours in operations, he was finally able to stand after a whole 2 decades. Forever crossed legs. Defying the doctors, saying that he would not be able to survive past the age of 3, and then defeating all the odds. Here he is, Marty Sheedy, walking on his two legs, now at 33 years old. Born without a hip joint, it was never easy for him to walk through all these years, as initially not being able to maintain his balance with straight legs due to a jointless support, and with doctors telling him that he'd never be able to walk, Marty found out a solution himself, which was to simply cross his legs. Yeah, just that easily, he regained his balance and started walking. And not just that, as he's now running a non-profit organization to support more people like him. Davy, the warrior. Biting his lips, biting his toes, biting literally anything that comes near his teeth, and even if that is another person. Not doing it on purpose, but because he feels like biting anything that's approachable by his teeth. Meet Davy, famous as the warrior child, who despite all the difficulties that he's been facing since his early years, is still fighting hard, and is no doubt fighting really hard. Davy was not even 2 years old when he was diagnosed with Lesch-Nyhan syndrome, in which a person does not have any say over his body. Basically, Davy had the muscle power, but didn't have the ability to control it. But determined to give their child a proper life, the parents and even his teachers are doing the best they could to provide Davy with the childhood he deserves.
Thanks, Davy.
Girl with Tourette's. Being accused of faking it, but in reality suffering with Tourette's, Nicole has to live with two personalities, one that is really her, and the other one which she can never predict.
When it's gonna happen, because it comes out the blue, you just never know. Oh no.
It was the night of her birthday when Nicole first experienced them. Initially only her hands and arms. Then they started affecting her voice too, and only grew stronger. Other than the Tourette's, Nicole has been diagnosed with a neurological functional disorder, which means that her arms and feet can go totally against the tics and will lock herself if they get too overwhelming. And now, let us move on to our subscriber pick of the day. This image was sent to us by one of our subscribers. Similarly, if you ever wish to know more about an image you come across, just send it on over to us. Who knows, we might even feature it in one of our videos. Causing the lungs to stop functioning when a person is asleep, the disease which affects only 1 in 30 million is what Liam Derbyshire is suffering from. Being told that he might not survive even the first 2 days of his life as he was diagnosed with congenital central hypoventilation syndrome, which means that his respiratory system stops, and basically he's dead when he goes to sleep. Therefore, his parents put him on life support to help him breathe in his unconsciousness. And that's how Liam is fighting this rare disease. And here is another walking miracle, a man that's literally living without a pulse. Meet Craig Lewis, the man who lived without a heart. So what happened was that Craig, already suffering with severe illnesses of the kidney and liver, had a sudden heart failure. So, in order to keep him alive, the doctor came up with a strangely incredible yet a risky idea. And that was to replace his heart with 2 turbines, which would work similar to a heart. The idea astonishingly worked, and Craig lived 5 weeks with the artificial heart, until facing some other major organ failures, and he died peacefully. But the doctors reported that it has nothing to do with the heart replacement, as it was working just fine. Nameless disease. Suffering from a disease so rare that doctors don't even have a name for it. This is Mitchell Herndon, one of the total 2 persons that have been diagnosed with this disease. Born healthy and being an athletic child, the symptoms started to appear at age 12, when he couldn't breathe properly and started to feel like his legs were not normal. Since then, his lower body parts became numb, and it only started there, as after came a load of tests with no results coming. Literally praying for their child to have a diagnosis, the parents and the doctors as well were shocked when they could not figure out what was happening to Herndon. So they named it after Mitchell, but were racing with time to find a cure for the boy, who was a college student now. And though the doctors tried their best, they could not save him. But trying to spread hope, even when not in this world, he donated his body to science. Bulging birthmark. Looks like a birthmark, but it's nothing like that. This purple spot on the left is what Kiana Smith's real misery is. As dealing with it since the first day of her life, she could not find a way to get rid of it. Born in the year 1978, she said because there was little knowledge about it at the time, nothing was done. But even after going 2 major surgeries now to get rid of the swelling, the pain is still there. Well, not just the pain, but according to Kiana, she's been facing many health issues too, as her left eye's vision was almost gone. She could not hear from one ear and even had difficulties talking too. Though dealing with it calmly, Kiana says the fever and swelling is what troubles her the most, but she couldn't do anything about it. Burning arms. Meet the strongest woman alive, surviving the rarest disease. She is not letting anything come her way. Kayla accidentally bruised the soft tissue of her arm during work, thinking she might have a broken bone. It was after 2 weeks, when the swelling didn't stop and was moving upward through her arm, she started feeling that her arm was burning, though it was cold from outside. She reached out to a pain management specialist who diagnosed her with CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, which is basically a form of chronic pain following an arm or leg injury. And even though her condition is worsening with each passing day, doctors are hopeful that they might find a cure for her disease, which will help her fight the illness. See you next time.